High Admiral Vexterra of the Meridian Collective stood motionless before the massive observation window of her flagship, the Eternal Dawn. Her iridescent scales shifted from deep purple to azure as she processed the data streaming through her neural interface. Earth hung in the void before her, a blue-green jewel that seemed almost suspiciously peaceful. "Tactical analysis complete, High Admiral," announced Strategic Officer Kilnar, his crystalline appendages clicking against his console. "The humans possess approximately 3,000 artificial satellites, but 82% appear dedicated to primitive communications and weather monitoring. The remaining units show no weapons signatures we can detect." Vexterra's secondary eyes narrowed while her primary set remained fixed on the planet and their orbital defense grid. "That's the peculiar part, High Admiral. There isn't one." The bridge fell silent. In the 3 centuries since the Meridian Collective had begun its expansion across the galaxy, they had never encountered a spacefaring civilization without basic orbital defenses. Even pre-FTL species typically maintained some form of defensive network. "Impossible," Vexterra murmured. "Run the scans again." "Already done, sir. 3 times. The humans have achieved rudimentary space travel, established a small colony on their moon, and launched several automated probes to nearby planets. But they have no energy shields, no particle cannons, not even basic point defense systems. Their most advanced weapons appear to be chemical rockets and nuclear devices that would be more dangerous to themselves than any invading force." Vexterra's scales rippled with skepticism. "Show me their military installations." The holographic display materialized before her, showing thousands of bases scattered across Earth's surface. Tanks, aircraft, and naval vessels moved in patterns that seemed almost deliberately obvious to their sensors. "Their technology level is inconsistent," reported Science Officer Miraleth, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with confusion. "They possess quantum computing and advanced AI, yet still rely on internal combustion engines for most transportation. They've mastered nuclear fusion, but continue to burn fossil fuels. It's as if their technological development followed no logical progression. Or as if they want us to see exactly what they choose to show," Vexterra mused. She had not risen to High Admiral by ignoring her instincts, and right now every scale on her body was screaming that something was wrong with this picture. "High Admiral," Kilnar interrupted her thoughts, "we're detecting a transmission from the surface. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, using basic radio waves." "Put it through." The holographic display shifted to show a human female wearing what appeared to be a diplomatic uniform. Her expression was open, friendly, and utterly unafraid. "Greetings, visitors. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of the United Earth Council. We've been monitoring your approach and welcome peaceful contact with new civilizations. Our sensors indicate you have substantial military capabilities. I want to assure you that Earth maintains a purely defensive posture and poses no threat to your vessel." Vexterra's scales shifted to a deep crimson. The human's words were diplomatic, but there was something in her tone, a hint of amusement, perhaps, that set the High Admiral's combat instincts on high alert. "Ambassador," Vexterra responded, her translator converting her harmonic speech to human English, "I am High Admiral Vexterra of the Meridian Collective. Your world appears remarkably undefended for a species that has achieved space travel." The ambassador's smile widened slightly. "We believe in maintaining transparency with potential allies, Admiral. Earth has always focused more on scientific advancement than military might. Would you be interested in establishing diplomatic relations? We would be happy to share our achievements in quantum computing and fusion technology." It was a perfectly reasonable offer, too perfect. Vexterra's military training screamed at her to retreat, to analyze, to question why a species would deliberately display such vulnerability while offering advanced technology so freely. "Send probe drones to the dark side of their moon," she subvocalized to her crew through their neural link. "Full spectrum analysis. If they're hiding something, I want to know what it is." "Ambassador," she said aloud, "we would be honored to establish diplomatic relations, Perhaps we could arrange a meeting to discuss. Her words were cut off by urgent signals from the probe drones. In the split second before they went dark, they transmitted images that made Vexterra's scales blanch white with shock. The dark side of Earth's moon wasn't dark at all. It was alive with activity. Full retreat. Vexterra barked, but before her crew could respond, space itself seemed to ripple around them. Hundreds of ships emerged from what their sensors had registered as empty void, their design unlike anything in the collective's database. The ambassador's smile remained unchanged, but now there was no mistaking the predatory gleam in her eyes. Actually, Admiral, I believe we should discuss why the Meridian Collective has been probing Earth's defenses for the past 3 months. We have so much to talk about. As silent alarms blazed across her neural interface, High Admiral Vexterra realized that the Meridian Collective had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that a lack of visible defenses meant vulnerability. They were about to learn why that assumption had proven fatal for every other species that had ever considered Earth an easy target. Status report. Vexterra commanded as the Eternal Dawn's emergency systems flared to life. The holographic displays surrounding her command post flickered with data streams that seemed to defy everything she thought she knew about human technological capabilities. Science Officer Miraleth's bioluminescence pulsed with rapid bursts of anxiety. High Admiral, we're detecting quantum-locked fields around Earth that weren't there moments ago. They're acting as force multipliers, enhancing what appear to be primitive defense systems into something far more sophisticated. On the main display, Ambassador Chen's image had been replaced by a tactical overlay showing the true extent of Earth's defensive network. What they had dismissed as simple communications satellites were transforming, unfolding like crystalline flowers to reveal weapon systems that had been hidden in plain sight. Fascinating, isn't it? A new voice cut through their communications. The holographic display shifted to show a silver-haired human male in what appeared to be a laboratory setting. Dr. Marcus Zhang, Earth Defense Science Division. Those primitive satellites you scanned, quantum-entangled metamaterial shells. They don't just hide our real capabilities. They actively broadcast false data. Pretty clever, if I do say so myself. Vexterra's scales rippled with a mix of anger and grudging admiration. You've been manipulating our sensor data since we entered the solar system. Oh, much longer than that, Dr. Zhang chuckled. Those probe ships you sent 6 months ago, the ones that supposedly confirmed Earth's primitive status, they've been feeding you exactly what we wanted you to see. Did you really think we wouldn't notice the Meridian Collective testing our defenses? Around the Eternal Dawn, space continued to transform. The human ships that had emerged from their quantum camouflage were taking up tactical positions, but making no aggressive moves. Yet, Strategic Officer Kilnar's crystalline appendages trembled as he reported, High Admiral, analyzing their weapon systems now. They're using our own scan attempts against us. Every probe we sent helped them calibrate their defenses specifically to our vulnerabilities. And those outdated combustion engines, Dr. Zhang added, clearly enjoying himself. Quantum vacuum drive cores disguised with holographic shells. The fossil fuel emissions you detected. Carefully controlled plasma venting designed to mask our real energy signatures. Even those nuclear weapons you were so dismissive of. Well, let's just say splitting atoms is child's play compared to what they really do. Vexterra's military training warred with her scientific curiosity. Why maintain such an elaborate deception? The resources required to appear primitive must be enormous. Ambassador Chen reappeared on the screen alongside Dr. Zhang. Because, Admiral, humanity learned something crucial early in our development. The best defense isn't a show of force. It's making potential adversaries underestimate you so completely that they defeat themselves before the first shot is fired. As if to emphasize her point, more of Earth's defenses revealed themselves. What had appeared to be simple weather patterns in the atmosphere resolved into interlocking energy fields. The ocean's thermal currents, which their scans had dismissed as natural phenomena, now showed themselves as massive power distribution networks. Your entire civilization is a tactical deception, Vexterra realized, her scales shifting to the deep blue of revelation. Not entirely, Chen corrected. We really do prefer peaceful contact. Everything Dr. Zhang showed you. It's defensive technology. We could have disabled your ships the moment you entered our solar system. Instead, we're having this conversation. Miraleth's console suddenly erupted with new data. High Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from their lunar installations. They're reconfiguring the quantum fabric of space itself around us. Just a precaution, Dr. Zhang explained casually. We call it a locality lock. Your ships can still maneuver, but faster-than-light travel is temporarily discouraged. Think of it as an incentive to continue our diplomatic discussion. Vexterra looked at her crew, then back at the humans on her display. In all her years of service, she had never encountered a species that had turned technological camouflage into such an art form. The Meridian Collective had prided itself on its strategic superiority, only to be outmaneuvered by a civilization that had turned its entire planet into an elaborate strategic deception. Ambassador Chen, she said finally, her scales settling into the formal patterns of diplomatic engagement. I believe the Meridian Collective would be very interested in those diplomatic relations you mentioned, under somewhat different terms than we originally envisioned. Chen's smile was genuine this time. Wonderful. And don't worry about your superior's reaction to this adjustment in negotiations. We took the liberty of transmitting proof of our capabilities to your central command about 30 seconds ago. I believe they're already drafting new diplomatic protocols as we speak. As her crew began receiving confirmation of the ambassador's claims, Vexterra realized that humanity hadn't just defeated their invasion plans. They had turned the entire encounter into a lesson in why appearances could be deceiving, and why the most dangerous opponent isn't the one who shows their strength, but the one who knows how to hide it until exactly the right moment. Deep within the Lunar Command Center, General Diana Patel watched the holographic representation of the Meridian Fleet with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. After decades of preparation, humanity's defensive strategy had proven successful, yet she knew this was just the beginning. Defense grid status, she asked, her voice echoing through the vast underground chamber carved into the moon's core. Colonel James Chen, no relation to the ambassador, responded from his station, his fingers dancing across quantum interface controls. All systems performing as designed, General. The Meridians are completely contained within our locality lock, and their attempts to probe our real defenses are being redirected through our deception matrices. Dr. Zhang, Patel called out, addressing the scientist's hologram. Stop playing with them and get to the point. We need to know if the Meridians are what we've been waiting for. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, High Admiral Vexterra noticed a subtle shift in the human's demeanor. The playful academic attitude of Dr. Zhang and Ambassador Chen's diplomatic smoothness gave way to something more focused, more purposeful. Admiral, Zhang addressed her, his tone now clinically professional. Your species' arrival wasn't a surprise. We've been intercepting your long-range scout ships for years, allowing them to escape with carefully curated data about Earth. What we need to know is, are you the advance force or the main event? Vexterra's scales shifted through patterns of confusion. I don't understand. Let me be clearer, Ambassador Chen interjected. Is the Meridian Collective the threat we've been preparing for, or are you running from the same thing we are? The question hit Vexterra like a gravitational shockwave. Her primary eyes widened as she realized the implications. You know about the signal. In the Lunar Command Center, General Patel nodded grimly. The quantum pulse from the galactic core. Your people detected it too, didn't you? That's why you've been expanding, looking for allies or easy conquests to strengthen your position. How long have you known? Vexterra demanded, her scales now pulsing with urgent patterns. Dr. Zhang's hologram smiled without humor. We detected it 50 years ago. That's when Project Lighthouse began. Everything you see around you, the quantum camouflage, the metamaterial shells, The locality locks. They're not just defenses against conventional threats. They're preparation for something far worse. The tactical displays around Vexterra's command post suddenly shifted, showing new data. Earth's defensive systems weren't just elaborate camouflage. They were components of something far larger, far more sophisticated than mere planetary protection. The signal isn't just communication, Miraleth whispered, her bioluminescence pulsing with revelation as she analyzed the data. It's a wake-up call. Precisely, General Patel confirmed. Something is stirring in the galactic core, something that's been dormant for millions of years. Your collective has been running around trying to build an empire to face it. We chose a different approach. Ambassador Chen's expression was deadly serious now. We turned our entire solar system into a trap. Those quantum fields you detected, they can reconfigure space-time itself. The metamaterial shells, they don't just hide our technology. They can redirect and amplify energy on a stellar scale. Earth isn't defenseless. Vexterra realized, her scales blanching. It's a weapon aimed at the galactic core. Not just a weapon, Dr. Zhang corrected. A fortress, a beacon, and hopefully, with the right allies, humanity's contribution to galactic survival. In the silence that followed, Strategic Officer Kilnar's crystalline appendages vibrated with a new frequency, not fear, but understanding. The primitive technology we detected, it's not just camouflage. It's redundancy. If your quantum systems fail, we can still fight on with primitive weapons, General Patel finished. Every layer of our deception is also a layer of defense. Humanity doesn't believe in single points of failure. Vexterra found herself reassessing everything she thought she knew about human civilization. They hadn't just outmaneuvered the Meridian Collective. They had been using them, testing their reactions, evaluating their potential as allies against a threat that made interstellar warfare look like a children's game. Ambassador Chen, she said finally, her scales settling into formal diplomatic patterns once again. I believe the Meridian Collective and Earth have much to discuss about mutual defense and the sharing of technology. Excellent, Chen replied. But before she could continue, alarms began blaring throughout both the human and Meridian command centers. Dr. Zhang's hologram flickered as he turned to address someone off-screen. General Patel. The signal. It's changing. All stations, battle stations. Patel's voice rang out. Admiral Vexterra, it seems our alliance will be tested sooner than expected. Your ships are being released from the locality lock. The real enemy is about to make its presence known. As both human and Meridian forces scrambled to combat stations, Vexterra realized that humanity's greatest deception hadn't been hiding their strength. It had been hiding their true purpose. Earth wasn't just another planet to be conquered or defended. It was the front line in a war that was about to begin. The signal pulsed through subspace, transforming from its previous subtle rhythm into something more urgent, more directed. In the Lunar Command Center, holographic displays showed its approach as waves of quantum distortion rippling through the fabric of space-time. Time to contact, General Patel demanded, her voice steady despite the tension filling the command center. 17 minutes, a technician reported. The signal is accelerating exponentially. Whatever was sleeping in the galactic core isn't just awakening. It's coming straight for us. On the bridge of the eternal dawn, Vexterra watched in fascination as Earth's true defensive capabilities activated. The seemingly primitive satellites transformed, linking together into vast geometric patterns that began reshaping the local space-time geometry. By the collective, Miraleth breathed, her bioluminescence pulsing with awe. They're not just defending Earth, they're turning the entire solar system into a quantum entanglement web. Dr. Zhang's hologram nodded approvingly. Humanity learned early that traditional defenses, shields, weapons, armor, they're all ultimately futile against a sufficiently advanced threat. So we developed a different approach. We don't try to stop the unstoppable. We redirect it. The space around Earth rippled as layers of quantum fields activated. What had appeared to be random debris in orbit suddenly revealed itself as precisely positioned metamaterial nodes, each one part of a vast, interconnected system. Your entire civilization. Vexterra realized, every piece of primitive technology we detected, every seemingly inefficient system, they're all components of this defense network. Those fossil fuel emissions you detected, Ambassador Chen explained, her diplomatic facade giving way to fierce pride. Quantum-entangled particles, released in precise patterns to create a solar system-wide sensor grid. The outdated power plants, nodes in a quantum computing network that extends from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. General Patel's voice cut through their conversation. 12 minutes to contact. Admiral Vexterra, we're transmitting command codes to integrate your fleet's systems with our defense grid. Dr. Zhang, begin the final sequence. The moon's surface seemed to come alive as hidden installations activated. What the Meridians had dismissed as simple mining operations revealed themselves as vast energy collectors, drawing power from the quantum fabric of space itself. Humanity didn't just prepare for this moment, Dr. Zhang said, his hands moving across control interfaces that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We shaped our entire development around it. Every war, every technological breakthrough, every seeming misstep in our advancement, all carefully orchestrated to create the perfect trap. Vexterra watched as her ship's sensors were suddenly enhanced by connection to Earth's defense grid. The signal resolved into something more definite, a vast consciousness, ancient beyond comprehension, reaching out across the galaxy with tendrils of pure quantum energy. 9 minutes, the countdown continued. Quantum field integrity at 98%. Metamaterial shell network online. Redirector arrays charging. Ambassador Chen's expression was grim. Admiral, what your people interpreted as primitive nuclear weapons, they're quantum state manipulators. Those chemical rockets, dimensional anchors, even our internet, that chaos of primitive digital communication. It's actually a distributed quantum consciousness, processing data faster than light itself. The signal grew stronger. On both human and Meridian displays, the entity approaching them began to take form. A vast, geometric pattern of pure energy, folding space around itself as it moved. 5 minutes. All stations report ready. Lunar base actuators at full power. Solar quantum tap engaged. Vexterra felt her scales ripple with a mixture of fear and anticipation. You're not just planning to fight this thing. You're going to trap it. Precisely, Dr. Zhang confirmed. Everything about Earth, our apparent vulnerability, our seemingly chaotic development, our primitive technology, it was all designed to create the perfect lure. We made ourselves look like an easy target, a primitive world ripe for conquest. 3 minutes. Quantum entanglement web at maximum capacity. Reality anchors locked. General Patel's voice carried absolute certainty. When this entity attacks, it won't find a defenseless planet. It will find itself caught in a trap 50 years in the making, built by a species that turned deception into an art form and patience into a weapon. The signal reached a crescendo. Space itself seemed to bend as the ancient consciousness approached, drawn by the apparent vulnerability of Earth's quantum signature. 1 minute, all personnel to battle stations, initiating final countermeasures. Ambassador Chen looked directly at Vexterra. Admiral, humanity has been called primitive, violent, chaotic, but we learned long ago that the greatest victory isn't in having the strongest weapons. It's in making your enemy defeat themselves. Watch closely. You're about to see why no one who has ever underestimated Earth has lived to try again. As the entity from the galactic core approached its final attack vector, humanity's greatest deception was about to be revealed. Earth hadn't just prepared a defense. They had created a trap that would make the laws of physics themselves serve as weapons. The countdown reached 0. As the ancient entity breached the outer bounds of Earth's solar system, humanity's trap sprang into action with the precision of a quantum clockwork. The seemingly random pattern of satellites, space debris, and primitive technology suddenly moved with purpose, like a spider's web drawing tight around its prey. Quantum entanglement web fully engaged, Colonel Chen reported, his voice echoing through the Lunar Command Center. Entity is attempting to phase shift, exactly as predicted. The creature from the galactic core, a being of pure energy and impossible geometry, tried to slip between dimensions, only to find itself caught in humanity's carefully laid trap. Every attempt to escape only entangled it further in the quantum web that humanity had spent decades weaving throughout the solar system. Fascinating, Miraleth whispered, her bioluminescence pulsing rapidly as she analyzed the data streaming through the Eternal Dawn's enhanced sensors. The humans didn't just build defenses. They created a quantum cage that uses the entity's own power against it. Dr. Zhang's hologram nodded approvingly. The more it struggles, the stronger our containment becomes. Those primitive nuclear tests we conducted over the decades, each one was precisely calculated to create quantum-entangled particles that we've woven into the fabric of local space-time. The entity's consciousness lashed out with tendrils of pure energy, only to have each attack redirected through Earth's metamaterial shell network. What had appeared to be simple communications satellites transformed the hostile energy into power for the containment system. Reality anchors holding at 97%, reported a technician. Quantum feedback loop stable. The entity is being contained. On every display, the ancient consciousness writhed in frustrated fury as it realized the truth. It hadn't found an easy target. It had found a trap sophisticated enough to capture a being that had survived since the dawn of the galaxy. You see, Admiral, General Patil explained to Vexterra, humanity understood something fundamental about advanced civilizations. They all expect to find either primitive worlds to conquer or advanced ones to fight. No one expects to find a civilization that has deliberately masked its true nature for decades, centuries if necessary, all to prepare for a single moment. The entity's struggles began to weaken as Earth's quantum cage contracted, each layer of humanity's deception revealing itself as part of an interlocking defense system. The primitive internet became a vast neural network, processing quantum calculations faster than light. The fossil fuel emissions resolved into precise patterns of quantum-entangled particles, forming a sensor grid that tracked the entity's every attempt to escape. Secondary containment phase initiating, Dr. Zhang announced. Admiral Vexterra, your fleet's position is crucial now. The energy readings we're about to generate, well, let's just say you'll want to be behind our quantum shields. The moon's hidden installations activated in sequence, each one adding another layer to the containment field. The entity's vast consciousness, which had terrorized galaxies since before Earth's sun first ignited, found itself trapped by a species it had dismissed as barely worth noticing. This is why we maintained our deception, Ambassador Chen explained, her voice filled with quiet pride. Every invasion we deterred, every species that underestimated us, they all helped us refine our methods, improve our camouflage, perfect our trap. We knew something ancient was sleeping in the galactic core. We knew it would eventually wake up. So we prepared. The entity's struggles reached a crescendo, and then, suddenly, ceased, not in defeat, but in something that felt almost like recognition. Energy patterns shifting. Miraleth reported, her bioluminescence pulsing with surprise. It's attempting to communicate. Through the quantum network that connected all their systems, a vast consciousness touched their minds. But instead of the expected hostility, there was something else, respect, tinged with amusement. Hidelivi or Cheildren, the thought echoed through their minds. 50 of your years, to create this trip. Generations of preparation. You are first to UCCED. We're receiving data, Dr. Zhang announced, his eyes wide as he processed the incoming information. It's not just a single entity. It's a test, a guardian, waiting for a species clever enough, patient enough, unified enough to capture it. The HFY is filled with warriors, the entity communicated. But wisdom is rare. UAVPRV and yourself is worthy. The quantum cage began to pulse with new energy as the entity willingly interfaced with it, transforming from a prison into a conduit for communication and knowledge. Admiral Vexterra, General Patel said, a slight smile playing at her lips, it seems humanity's first contact with a truly advanced species will also be the Meridian Collectives. Shall we learn what our new friend has to teach us? As the ancient entity began sharing the secrets of the galaxy, Vexterra's scales shifted through patterns of wonder and understanding. Humanity hadn't just created the perfect trap. They had proven themselves worthy of joining a larger cosmic community, one that valued wisdom and patience over mere technological advancement. Their primitive facade hadn't just been a defense strategy. It had been an entrance exam for a galaxy that had been waiting for a species clever enough to see beyond the obvious, patient enough to plan for generations, and wise enough to understand that true strength lies not in showing power, but in knowing when and how to reveal it. Earth's greatest deception had become its greatest triumph, and in doing so, had opened the door to a future beyond anything either humanity or the Meridian Collective had imagined.